Today we're going to be talking about credit management within the rental equipment industry, how lien rights collections can obviously ties into that. My name is Pearson. I've worked at Level Set for 3 years, helping contractors, equipment lessors keep their lien rights protected, make sure that cash flow is covered, they can get paid when they should get paid. And I picked up a lot of experience along the way talking with folks across the country on this. So that's enough talking for me. We also have Miss Tracy Turner with us, CCE, Regional Credit Manager for H&E Equipment. I'm going to shut up and let her do kind of a quick little introduction about herself.
Yeah, I've been with H&E for 13 years. I'm a regional credit manager. I handle Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and soon to be Missouri. I've got 2 teenage boys. One's 19, one's 17, and 2 little fur babies. So I'm a single mom with both of them. So we tend to stay a little busy. And they both just now got jobs. So we're super busy now.
That's exciting. Perfect. We're going to be your host today. Our agenda, this is really going to be a Q&A, kind of a day in the life, or like a view into Tracy's day to day and how she keeps it humming at H&E. So we're going to go through some basic kind of introductory questions up front. Then we're going to start to focus a little bit more on equipment rental, credit management, like in particular. And then after that, a few questions around like how Level Set. We work with a ton of lessors across the U.S. on this, kind of how we help. Quick 5 minutes within our system, and then we want to open it up to a Q&A for everyone within the chat. So if y'all have questions as we're talking, throw them in there now, and then we'll make sure to either address them then, or we could make sure that we talk about them as we're wrapping up. So let's go. Up front, a little bit about Level Set. Y'all already know I'm from New Orleans. We were founded by Scott Wolf. He was a construction attorney here in the city following Hurricane Katrina. And this will probably resonate a little bit with you guys. Not sure where you're at geographically, but when an entire city has to get rebuilt, a lot of contractors come into work, and a lot of guys work really quickly, and then they don't really focus or spend as much time thinking about how they're going to get paid for that work. Basically, it was a mess. He had too many people coming into the office asking for a demand letter when they had no lien rights or their deadlines had expired. And from there, that was the genesis for the past 12 years for us to grow into a national leading company that provides lien rights management for equipment lessors, distributors, material suppliers, subcontractors across the U.S. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But let's get on to what we're really here for, which is to learn about Tracy. So up front, you work at H&E. It's been a little while. Can you tell us like your maybe the rise or the story of your last few years there?
Yeah, so I started out here as a regional credit manager. Like I said, I've been in credit management in North Texas for over 30 years, but I've been here for 13, going on 14. We pre-COVID, I had 12 credit assistants. Since COVID, we're down to 4 credit assistants. Yeah, we took a little bit of a dive. Of course, everybody did. COVID kind of took us, in the wrong direction, as did everybody. But I've got 4 credit assistants and a senior credit assistant. And of course, we're fixing to ramp up and add personnel. Now that everything's kind of turned around, we were talking before the webinar started how we're getting really busy now. We process all our credit apps in-house. We do our credit card payments. We do all the collections in-house and dispute resolution. What we don't do is we do not do the posting of the cashier. That's all handled at our corporate office. But we do pretty much anything else that has to do with the credit process itself here. So we do all our lien notices here and everything else in-house here at our office.
Gotcha. If you don't mind me asking, with that drop off with credit assistance, how did that impact the day to day? I know there was slightly less business because of COVID, but outside of that, kind of what What had you feeling it?
In the very beginning, it was huge for the first 6 months. For the last 6 months, it's probably not been as bad because we were kind of recovering from all the disputes, from all the, we had a lot of cleanup to do because customers were pennying everything. Counting for every penny, counting for every day, oh, I didn't have it for 3 weeks. I had it for 2 weeks and 2 days, or I didn't buy that part. That's tax exempt. They were, doing everything that they could do to save money. So it allowed us the time to clean up the aging. It allowed us time to, dispute resolve a lot of issues, reconcile a lot of accounts, and do more of that, what I call kid glove accounts, taking care of our customers one-on-one a little bit more than what we would normally have time to do. And to take care of the salesmen and making sure they're getting, their commission, because our salesmen are paid on commission. After 120 days, they lose it. So it's one of those things where we were able to kind of help them too through those customers we're working payment plans out with, because we had a lot of customers we were having to do payment arrangements with. When you have customers that can't pay because we're in the middle of a pandemic and they're waiting on funds from the government to sustain their business, we're sitting here trying to stretch them out, save our salesman commission, get paid within a time frame, but also be able to allow them to continue to rent equipment and protect our rights. So it was a very fine line, but you're able to keep customers in business. You're able to stay in business. Salesman's able to get paid. You're able to protect your rights and keep everything flowing. So it was a tough time, but a learning experience on how to balance everything. Because even through, the 80s and all the falls we've had with financial and economic times, this is probably the most challenging time I've ever had. But it was a learning experience of learning how to cope with all those different avenues of stress. You've got your salesman, you've got your customer, you've got your economy, you've got, all these different people coming at you, but yet at the end of the day, we're all still here.
Pressure turns coals into diamond, right?
And you got customers that really appreciated the fact that you worked with them and you didn't just give up on them.
Yeah. It's been a tough past year, and it's been fascinating hearing everyone that I've talked to, how they've gotten around it, because saying folks that are still here, they pulled some magic off. And it's really cool to hear. So maybe not just COVID specific, but because you mentioned, hey, it was a little bit different than obviously normal times, but day to day and then month to month, what does the flow of your month look like when you're monitoring age and closing out the month, from week 1 to week 4? How does that go?
So the first 2 weeks of the month, we're really working on notices. Obviously, we're in Texas, so the first 2 weeks of the month, we're focusing on the aging for the notices and prepping for those, and getting the first, the Texas notices handled, redoing from the previous month to current and where we are now, and double checking, making sure that the payments, if we did get paid, we pull those. And then we're ramping up towards month end. At month end, we're really cleaning up, making those big dollar calls, trying to overnight checks in so that we can process. I do scan checks into the bank from here. I have a bank scanner. So month end, I process checks in here, into our scanner. We don't post them, but I deposit them. So we'll overnight checks in the last week of the month. So we do that. We also will do blitzes sometimes to try and help funds navigate in towards the third week of the month if we need to, and switch things up sometimes, to where I may get a different collector on the phone. Hey, this branch is struggling. We've maybe had the same collector on this branch too long, so we'll switch it up and we'll switch collectors out. I just have to sometimes change it up. You can have the same collector in the same area too long. And so every once in a while we'll switch it up and blitz, and then you've got everybody calling and changing things up, and it makes a huge difference. So you've got the first 2 weeks are lien notices, and then everybody's calling in between. I am also always into the credit memos and trying to find out the credit balances and reconciling those. And I've got another girl that's handling credit apps. And then towards the end of the month, it's machine sales, trying to figure out the machine sales and get those balances in. And then we work on the end of the month on the bigger dollars and overnight the checks in for the high dollar balances.
Gotcha. So when you're talking about processing all those credit apps internally, what else are you guys using to extend contracts to your customers? Are you also asking for trade references from other customers? Like what goes into becoming a customer of H&E?
So we start off with the credit app. Then we will pull, we have one credit source that we pull. If it passes based on our metrics that we have set up, then it's an automatic setup from there. If it doesn't, there's another credit source that we pull. If that doesn't pass, it's automatically referred back to us. And then we start the trade reference process. I have the option to override that. I can set it up based on what I see. Mm-hmm. And if that doesn't work, then we start the trade references, and then we can go to job information. We can go to joint checks. We can go to, there's all those other avenues that I can take from there. Mm-hmm. It'll come from the corporate office and they'll say, hey, what do you want to do? And then I set it up from there based on how I want to take the avenue. Is it a big job like Amazon, or is it a big job, like a Sam's Club or whatever, and we want to do joint check with the GC, we can do that.
Right. Yeah. Because there's a layer of credibility beyond just your customer, and
correct,
you can reach out to them. Got it.
Yeah.
So not just lien right specific, this could be broadened past that, but what is the most difficult part of either your job or your department when it comes to protecting receivables?
Knowing where the equipment is. Because all of our equipment does not have tracking. So a lot of our customers will take equipment and we don't deliver it. And if we don't deliver it, we don't know where it goes, especially in the oil field, especially when the oil field's extremely busy. Sometimes we'll have a customer call in and say they need a service repair, and that customer that's calling it in is not the customer we rented it to.
That's scary.
So all of a sudden we find out that someone else has picked it up and took it to a job site, but that's because you have 3 or 4 subs on the same job, and they just took a piece of equipment that they thought was theirs, but it's not theirs. It was rented to somebody else. So keeping up with our equipment sometimes is the biggest challenge, and knowing where it's at.
Gotcha. Outside of, like, obviously with GPS, you're going to know where it is. Without having that, how are y'all just trying to stay on top of that? Is that those credit assistants calling, or the salesmen? Do they have to stay up to date with the pieces?
You got salesmen that are really good at what they do in certain areas of my territory. They are, the ones that handle the oil field, they're really, really good. They know their job sites. They know where they are. They'll go out and they'll track them down. And then you've got the salesmen that are on these construction sites. They're familiar with the project superintendents. They know all the subs and all the players on these jobs. And as long as they have a really good relationship, they help us out a lot. More so than the collectors, in my opinion. If your salesmen are really good and you've got a good relationship with your salesmen, they will really go the mile to help you out.
We, shameless plug right now, but we did another webinar a few weeks back with, I believe, Thea Dudley, about managing that relationship between the credit department and the sales department across any org, not just within, the rental industry. What are some of the things that you guys do to make sure that you have great communication between them? Because I see that over and over again, where tends to be like the black hole of where issues can stem from.
To me, you've got to keep the communication open. You cannot shut it down. You've got to always be open to listen. If they get out on the outs with the girls in the office with my collectors, then they'll come to me and we've got to figure out how to make it work. It can't always be no, it's got to be no, and here's my reasons why. And if this isn't going to work, then let's figure out what is going to work. It cannot always be just a dead end road. You got to figure it out and you got to work together, because at the end of the day, we've either got to make this deal work or we've got to make another one work, but we've got to always be able to work together. It's just like I asked a salesman this morning to go to an address, and he looked at the GPS last night and he goes, Tracy, this is a field. I said, it may be a field, but this is the address the customer gave me of where we're sending invoices. I need you to go check it out. And he sent me a picture back and he goes, it's a ranchlet out in the middle of nowhere. And sure enough, it is. And now my customer's in the wind. But he went and did it for me, even though it took him an hour to get there this morning. And I will thank him. You know what I mean? It's one of those, it's thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it was a drag for you, but I really appreciate it, and he knows that I appreciate it. It wasn't just a dry run for him.
Right. Do you communicate with the sales team about the lien process? Because I've done that a few times where I'll run trainings for distributors for their sales team to be able to communicate it to their customers.
Yeah, we do that. And we also have monthly sales calls with our branches. So what the collectors will have a monthly sales call with the branch. And I'll get on there and sometimes go over little things that branch particularly in their sales force may be missing. So the branch manager's on the call, the regional people are on the call, and all the sales team are on the call. So I get to touch them, once a month. And so the collector gets to talk to them every month and go over accounts. So we get to touch on things like that. Hey, this customer's going to get a notice, or this customer, we're, possibly going to pick up equipment and we're going to have to lien them. Can you help me? And that has been huge for us. And we've been doing conference calls with our branches for probably the last 5 years. And it has really helped mend those relationships.
Awesome. Yeah. A lot of times it's just about being on the same page, as cliche as that sounds,
Right. Exactly.
Understanding each other. So we know that the classic sense of, protecting your payment is you can go and pick up your equipment and say, hey, well, you're not going to have it anymore.
Right.
Outside of repossessing the machine, what are the actions that you guys are taking to make sure that you're covered, or, push comes to shove, you really need to get paid ASAP?
Well, we will really work with anybody, especially if they're making an attempt. They're making an attempt to pay. I'm getting some money all the time. They may not, they may only get to keep that machine that they have. And as long as they're making some sort of payments and they're going through a hard time, I will work with them. Outside of that, if there's nothing, then I will pluck them off of it and we will pick it up and if I can't find it, then we will do a forcible demand and we'll send the sheriff out to go get it. So, we will do that if we have to. It's not the way I like to go, because we, of course, want to keep them as a customer. You don't want to lose customers. You want to keep them. We can do it the nice way and keep everybody and work with you and get you through this rough patch. Or if you're going to take it and hide it, then we're going to have to go find it.
I get it.
And finding it involves the legal team.
Yeah, no one's having a good time once they get involved.
Yeah, no. And unfortunately, that's not a road back to H&E once we go down that one. It's a one-way street.
One thing that I wanted to bring back up, because as you mentioned, we were talking before the webinar started, but the lien process in general and the notices that are required of it, how are you communicating with your customers prior to a notice going out, or before you take maybe what could be deemed as an aggressive action in the lien process? How are you communicating that?
We normally will tell our customers, hey, we've got to send these notices because we've not been paid, but this will also help you get paid. We're helping you get your payment from your GC. Now, if they haven't been paid, they normally go, yay, that helps. If they have been paid, well, then that's where we get into the problem of, well, you can't do that, or that's going to cause me problems. Well, unfortunately for them, if they had paid us, we wouldn't be in this scenario. But if they haven't been paid, it's normally well received. It's just explaining to them why we do it, why it helps them, because they don't see it as helping them when we're sending something saying, hey, you haven't paid us. But we have to explain to them, well, it's really not affecting you. It's telling you haven't been paid by your GC and that they need to pay you so you can pay us. It's kind of a trickle down effect. And so once we explain it to them, normally it's well received, except for those that have been paid that haven't paid us.
Yeah. And that's kind of transparent as to why they're reacting like that.
Exactly.
So like with your own experience, do you have maybe any specific stories that you could think of where, you guys maybe between a rock and a hard place, really didn't think you're going to get paid on time, but being able to follow that process puts you in the right position to collect in the end.
Yeah, we've actually had several, and especially here lately, and they were big dollar claims. We prior to the last several years, we just kind of ran lucky, so to speak. We would do the notices on problem accounts, problematic people, ones we knew were a problem, but we wouldn't do a lot of them. We just kind of, hey, this customer's been known to be a problem, we'll send it. But here in the last 2 years, we're doing them more and more and more. So it's just become now more practice and habit on across the board with our customer base. And we had a customer that we've had since I've been here. So 13 years, never been a problem. And they were on this really big project, all of a sudden stopped paying. And they owed us upwards of $800,000. Well, finally, they gave us a big chunk, gave us another big chunk. We got down to about this $300,000 range, and they stopped paying and kept asking for more time, asking for more time. Well, time was running down to be able to notice it. And I was like, you know what? My boss is like, you've got to do this. I said, but they're so good. They're a good customer. They've been with us forever. She's like, no, you've got to do it. I was like, okay. So I closed my eyes and just did it. And, we ended up going through the whole process, and we got paid by the surety in full, and the customer is still in litigation with their owner that they did project with. But we're paid and we're out of the mix. Now they're still, fighting back and forth, but had we not done what we did on the pipeline with the bond claim, we would not be paid. And that was the first pipeline I had actually filed a bond claim on.
That's a lot of times. Yeah, that's amazing. So a lot of times that's what I'm trying to preach is the lien process isn't about saying we're going to be filing liens left and right. We're going to be claiming against the bond left and right. It's about wearing a seatbelt. It's about protecting yourself in case something were to go bad. And then oftentimes, which I know from my experience, but I want to hear from you as well. You talked about how the last 5 to 6 years, you've become more consistent with sending out these notices. Have you guys seen maybe time to payment or the number of liens you filed drop down? Like has when you get paid become more consistent as well because of that?
Yeah, it seems to be. And also I found the customers are more communicative to us. Hey, I'm going to be paying, and it seems to be the week before the notices are going out, because they're getting in the habit of paying ahead of time. They know that that's coming up, and they want to make sure their payment's in before we send them out.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're seeing the turn. It's what I call habits. Customers are getting in the habit, because they always say you can train your customers, and you can train them.
And yeah, I call it onboarding your customer. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will say, you're in Texas. You're a black belt at this. You've been doing it for years. And for anyone like on the webinar that's not from Texas, but they dabble in lien rights, Texas is the most difficult state, hands down, not even close, to pay attention to your deadlines, monitor each project. So that's the caveat. Other states can be a little easier than this. What is the most difficult aspect of managing the process in your eyes?
Well, so before I came to rental, I had it easy because I was in distribution, and I had spent a stint in concrete, which is easy to do because you're invoicing the day you pour, right?
It's just a lot.
Yeah. So it's easy. It's easy peasy. So, but when you're in rental, we put it out on the dirt, but we don't invoice it for 17 days. So our invoice is 17 days after we've delivered it. So the notice process starts on the day we deliver it, not the day we invoice it. So we have to focus on contract dates. So our intent to lien notice process is driven off of reporting, not off of a customer counts. So we have to actually do our notices off of contract reporting. So it's not done off of customer agings or anything like that in the beginning. We have to work off of another way of doing it. And then we end up coming to the aging process towards the end of our 2-week term that we work on. So it's a different process. It's a little bit more manual, but it's the way we have to do it because of how our billing cycle.
The way billing's set up. Yeah. Yeah. That is a little difficult. So yeah, I will say, but I've got one or two more questions before we kind of transition into a quick walkthrough of how Level Set helps with that whole process and kind of makes it not as difficult.
Okay.
But let's say, any good credit manager doesn't have to just be within rental. What should they continue or just try to keep improving on, whether that's a soft skill or a process that they have in place?
I would say number one, you got to stay up with the notice process and the lien laws. Texas was having problems already again this year. They were down in Austin dealing with legislation the first part of April. Already. Someone had written a bill and was trying to change the process again. So I would say that would be the main focus. But also, what things can you do to help your customers during tough times? Because apparently that's fixing to be the norm. Who would have thought that we would have the issues we've had, winter storm, pandemic. I mean, we're going to have to prepare for that because customers are going to go through tough times. And as companies, we're going to have to adapt to that in order to hang on to the customer base. So we're going to have to become more adaptable to our customer situations and learn to work with them and not just say, nope, that's just the way it is. And we're going to have to get creative. And so I would say that between the lien laws and getting creative to work with your customers and find more creative ways to work with them.
That's perfect. And then a final little ribbon or a little bow on top, just a general piece of advice you'd give to any other credit professional, AR professional working within equipment rental for, growing their career or having a steady one that can last decades within this industry?
I would say absorb as much knowledge as you can from as many sources as you can. Because to me, you can't just learn from one person. You've got to continue to learn and continue to learn from people that have been in this business because, I've been in several different industries and every industry does things different. But I've also been networking with tons of people that I now call friends, and they all do things different. So you've got to just learn from different sources and keep an open mind to growing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that applies to everyday life too, right? Not just making sure we get paid when we should.
Right.
So yeah, that's I guess I didn't keep up with the slides, but that if y'all are listening, you were able to follow along. So real quick, I'm gonna hop into Level Set itself. So we're gonna go through some of the day-to-day on how are we going to be able to protect these projects. So even if you're not using Level Set, you're not using some kind of service to do this, you're doing this internally. The process as a whole and being consistent in it is what you should take away from this. So up front, I have a job. It's a test job I put in California. Unlike Texas, not crazy complicated where we might have to send multiple upon multiple notices to protect our lien rights. Right here, we just have to send our prelim right when the job starts, unless new contract is created. So we had it spelled out. We've got 9 days to send this out. And when we talked about onboarding our customers or communicating what the lien rates process is with our customers, we think a great way to start this is this front page of that initial notice that goes out. Because your customer might be familiar with the lien rights process, but hey, maybe the owner of this project is not. And if they're going to receive a notice that has the word lien on it, they might recognize that and freak out. So it's about putting this into like a common language, explaining this is why we're sending it, this is the purpose of it, and now we've checked our box. So right here, it would say, ABC equipment rental is on your project. Under project contribution, hey, these are the pieces we have on the job site, and when they arrived, have the logo. Then this is a custom message, but this is the boilerplate version of it. Thanks for the business. We're sending you this notice. That way you're aware of our involvement on the project. Very important for the GC, for the property owner to understand that. We're notifying you that way. You understand how to communicate with us if there is any kind of problem. We punch in contract amount. Followed up with, again, that transparency. Hey, this is who hired us. We understand that these are the property owners involved. This is the lender working on the project. And then if we had vendors, we could list them there. Not going to be the case for you guys. And then the actual legal document following that up. Click next. Hey, this is who has to receive it through certified mail. We're good to go. If we need to add anyone else, we absolutely can. Click next. Hey, we can rush it to get out the door ASAP if we're coming up tight against the deadline, or we could just mail it within 3 days of the order. But we've gone ahead and mailed it out for you. We've done everything that can be done for the pre-lien. So this, Tracy, this actually brings up a question for you. How, obviously you know your customer, how are you going to find the general contractor or maybe the owner of the project if they need to receive this stuff?
Well, we start with our customer. We start asking them, or we will have had the job sheet up front and the salesman would have got it from the job site.
Okay, perfect. Because I
It
know
just depends on the customer.
Because some, yeah, either they don't know, maybe they tell you the wrong answer on purpose.
They don't want to know.
They don't want to know. But I did skip past it, but a really valuable part of this is once we get that job site address, we've got a team of 30 people that's what they do. They're private eyes, or they pull tax records, they're going to the county recorder, they're working within our own database to see, hey, who actually is running this project, who owns the site. That way we always know the right people are going to be receiving this. Further down, hey, we haven't been paid. It's becoming an issue. That notice of intent to lien, optional here in California, but crucial part of the lien rights process. Tracy manages a few states where that's going to be required. Basically, a demand letter saying, hey, we haven't been paid, lien's coming. How do we avoid this bad outcome? And then finally, the lien or the claim against the bond itself, tracking that deadline. It's in plain view. We know when we need to take action. That way it's never creeping up on us. Last thing I want to highlight here is this was an individual project. So if we have those credit assistants and they're responsible for all the jobs that we work with these 5 customers, they can look at their individual projects like that and see, okay, where do we stand? Beyond that, this is the view that Tracy's going to want to see is where do we stand across all of our different projects, whether that's oil field customers, construction, ag, as this loads up, because this is going to be basically that report that's showing where do we stand everywhere. So we can sort it out by, hey, what's our nearest approaching deadline, notice, lien, bond claim, protected status. So, hey, have we met a requirement that's going to be due pretty soon here? Outstanding amount, who's our customer? And there's a ton of different columns that you could, rearrange this by. When were we last on site? Who's the GC running the project? Which line of business? So oil field, or construction. And then this is my favorite way to filter this, which is the lien alerts. So we're doing this for, really large distributors, not just really large, massive distributors like Ferguson. We're doing this for like Ahern in the equipment rental space, to where we have a footprint on a lot of projects across the US. And if we know that, we've got certain customers on certain jobs, well, then we know if they're filing liens, obviously, but that also gives us an address to pull from that county recorder website across the US. So we're able to see, hey, are other project participants filing liens on the jobs that our customers are working on? So when Tracy is, when she's looking in that first week, getting notices prepared to go out on the 15th, this is when we could come in and look and see, all right, this job has 20 liens on it already. I'd say it's probably guaranteed we're going to have that notice out and ready and get it out the door, to where you can kind of prioritize what do we need to pay attention to, and how do we need to hop on the phone and communicate with our customers now if we're stepping into a hornet's nest. I guess, Tracy, like, not just the lien alerts, but how do you track this information, or like how do you see this being useful in your position?
Well, I have something similar that I use, kind of like a spreadsheet that I kind of track with. I like this though because it has the at-risk, column, so that you kind of, those would stand out instead of the manual process I use. But again, we're the way that we have to do ours because of the time issue. It's just different. But I like the at-risk because it kind of stands out and tells you need to do me first. And that's also nice when you can get those that you're going to have to do out of the way. Then you can focus on the ones that you may have to do. And so, two, I do have a dollar limit. If it's under $2,500, I don't even mess with those.
Right.
I do everything over that. So that kind of cues out. So I kind of peel the top ones off that I know I have to do, the $2,500 out, and then I'm left with everything in the middle.
Yeah. And that's how you want to spend your time wisely. So the other way we could filter this would be by state. So if you just want to look at all your projects in Arkansas and Arkansas alone, we could do that versus Texas versus Louisiana. All that would be interactive. So there's a lot more bells and whistles to this. I just wanted to show individual project, all the projects.
Nice.
But we could get into this is probably the favorite part about all of our Texas users, our approved monthly notices and the documents queue. I'm not going to show it, but I'll tease it to where we would have all the invoices for, what we've billed for those projects, and we'd have every single one of your monthly notices ready and set to go. The day before they're due, you just have to tell us yes or no. And then they'd either go out or we'd pull them from the batch, which, as you can imagine, saves people a lot of time when you have to write them all up manually, and then all of a sudden you get paid on the 14th and then say, okay, guess we don't need to send that one. So I'll go on back to this. I was really bad with the slides. So do we have any maybe parting questions from the attendees before we hop out of here? I see we've got one from Home, Avila. Do you have any info/updates on the lien laws they were discussing at the Capitol a few weeks ago? So I'm going to assume that's exactly what you were talking about earlier, Tracy.
Yeah, they were discussing actually so the committee, the guy who wrote the bill and the committee were discussing ways that they can get around the days. The issue at hand, one of the issues at hand was the first notice and the second notice. They're wanting to eliminate the first notice. That way you would only have to deal with the fund trapping notice. So, and they were working on a way to come together on that. So there's that issue. Plus there was an issue on the fact that you have a year after the project's finished. So they're going back to committee. They got nowhere, obviously. So we have a NACM hired a lobbyist. So I know that they're still dealing with it down there on the floor. And so it's still up for discussion. So they're still working on it. That was just the first round. I don't know if that helps, but
Yeah. No, but at least
I
like
wasn't
see
able
where
to
the
go
change is
because
going.
I wasn't able to go because they called on Monday, asked if I could go, and I was due for my second shot on Wednesday. And so I was not able to go because it was been Tuesday. And so, or I would have went and I'd have better details.
I will say though, if you guys would like to come to the news aspect of Level Set, we've got our internal team of attorneys that's constantly scouring, hey, what is going to be changing, what's coming up on the horizon, to where as soon as something happens when it has to deal with lien law, it's posted here. And we're frequently running webinars, not just this, but with construction attorneys from, let's just say, individual states. Where, like, I know Georgia changed their lien waivers in this past year, so we made sure to have one of the attorneys on that was part of the committee that had that change go into action. So if you monitor the site from time to time, even if it's once a month, we're gonna make sure that you're aware of any changes. And then the other thing is the ask a question aspect. So I just talked about how we have those attorneys that are, internal, looking for those changes. But if you do have a legal question, you don't have direct access to an attorney, or you have one on retainer, you don't want to spend a ton of money asking them a simple question like, hey, is the lien law changed in Texas in 2021? You can submit it here, and we're going to forward those questions to local construction attorneys. They're going to answer and get it back to you. So that's nothing that you have to pay for. That comes with this. So take advantage of that resource. Tracy, I really appreciate your time. It was fun talking with you today, cutting it up with a black belt of lien law, and appreciate everyone for attending. So you will get a recording. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.